What's good, y'all? It's the Demouchets REACT, and we're back with another video. Who we got today, C?
Today we're back with another American reaction.
Yes.
Super excited about this video, guys. If you're new to us and we're new to you, make sure you scroll down, hit that subscribe button, and turn on the post notification bell because we're on the road to 100K. And we cannot get there without you guys, all right? Join the family. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
Or Curaçao, as the locals would call it, is a beautiful island within the Kingdom of the Netherlands. There are a vast array of people living on the island, and West African slave descendants make up the larger part of the population due to the island's involvement in the transatlantic slave trade. I traveled to the island to explore the transatlantic slave trade in the Caribbean and consequently unearthed Curaçao's African past. African slaves were brought to the island from West Africa, where the culture was rich and the kingdoms were thriving. I went to the Museum of Curaçao. African slaves.
Look at that map.
So they was brought from West Africa all the way up. Well, as you can see, they was traveling back and forth, but
yeah,
mainly they went up. They went up the map. Okay.
Yeah, from that region.
From that region, right.
Were brought to the island from West Africa, where the culture was rich and the kingdoms were thriving. I went to the Museum of Curaçao to dig into Curaçao's African past and understand the continent before the transatlantic slave trade. Africa. It is the cradle of humanity and the start of civilization. This is where it all began.
I can make you one. I'm into pottery, so I can do the whole sculpture thing for you. It's probably not. I'm gonna need time to make it that big, but you know what I'm saying?
I needed the right.
You need all the good curves,
the curves
the
and
angles.
everything. Yeah,
Yes. I got you.
That was so beautiful.
Unless y'all can hook a brother up.
I love it.
Math, science, language, religion. It all started here on this magnificent continent. West Africa had several kingdoms like Ashanti, Songhai, and Mali, just to name a few, all possessing great power, organization, and art.
You see, just from that term alone that she said how they had great power and kingdoms, you know what I'm saying? Like, how can you not look at the history and not be thirsty to want to go further and further back before the slaves and all that? You know what I'm saying? To really understand the history and where you come from and just what's going on before this big tragic episode came into play. You feel me?
I find it fascinating how, although, you know, people of today, not African Americans, but just Africans in the diaspora, even in Curaçao. So I think I'm pronouncing it
just let it flow
as close as possible. How we hold on to our heritage. Yeah. Right? Regardless of where we are, regardless of where our ancestors landed. Like, we hold on to our heritage, and at the end of the day, we may be American, we may be, you know, Honduran, Puerto Rican, and all this, but we hold true to who we are at our core.
Facts.
I love that.
The transatlantic slave trade had a detrimental effect on the West African civilizations. Despite the harm it brought to the continent of Africa, it made great profit for the European superpowers. Curaçao was an active slave trading center. The enslaved were sold throughout the Caribbean and within the island of Curaçao.
Slavery started in 1654 when Curaçao became a slave deposit of the Dutch. They had so many different forts at the western part of Africa, and they had to sell those to the different islands of the Caribbean. So, because they had all these people that they wanted to sell, they needed a place as a focal point from where they would sell the enslaved people, and that became Curaçao.
Naturally, the enslaved Africans were discontented with their lives on the island of Curaçao, causing one of the largest slave revolts of the Caribbean. The revolt was led by an enslaved African man named Tula. In a series of 5 fierce battles, Tula and his army fought bravely against the Dutch army. I went to the Museum of Tula and spoke with museum tour guide Mildred Rafala for an in-depth look at the Tula revolt.
I know the times are different around there, but if you think about it, it's like they were put in position to either suffer the consequences of being chained up for hours and hours and days and then treated like trash, or stand up, because either way you go, you're kind of in a bad position anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Even if it meant dying.
Right. So you might as well put yourself in a position to be free again.
Right.
But I think it was more so of the, I don't know, I can't really speak on it because I wasn't, you know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
Like, I think y'all get what I'm coming from, though.
Yeah, I do. I wonder if Curaçao was one of the places where they did, like, the conditioning. Because she said it was the central point in the Caribbeans. Mm-hmm. So I wonder, I can't get into the graphic details, but you know how they... Can
we speak from a reference of an animal? So the horses, before they can get the horses to race, they have to break them. Right? Yeah, so...
I wonder if it was that, you know, just to get them under submission. Like, you know that story we heard about the male horses? Follow along.
Yeah.
The male horses, right? Mm-hmm. I wonder if if Curaçao was one of those places where they did that before they shipped them where they wanted to be shipped.
That's tough.
Cause, yeah, let's go to Tula. Come on.
Yeah, let's go to Tula.
Said to his master, "We are treated like animals. So there are better treatment for animals than for the people, than for the human being." And that was something that got them to start for the revolution for freedom. Around 300 slaves that has joined the revolution that day. The only thing they have to battle with was wood and stone.
This statue marks the place where each battle occurred on the island. Sadly, Tula was betrayed by a fellow slave.
And the 28th of September, they have kept Tula, because that was the idea.
All skin folk ain't your king folk.
Real talk. That's
Can't trust everybody.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Because they think if they take the leader, everything is over. September, they bring them to jail in the governor, we call it now the governor place. There at 40, we call it. There they take them to jail till 3 of October. It was 29 persons that they have killed at a very cruel manner.
Here is after the rebellion of Tula and the other slaves. They were fighting for their freedom, and they captured them. And here, in front of Fort Amsterdam, they cut the head off. And after that, they went to Reef. They dropped the body over there, and they put the head hanging. When the boats coming with the new slaves on Curaçao, the other one can see the head hanging over there, and they get.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's gruesome. That's crazy. But at the same time, it's like that's what they would do. They would love making examples. Yeah. They love to make an example out of somebody.
And put their heads up as if it's a trophy. And say, look, if you're going to do this, this is what's going to happen
Basically, to you. Yeah. And I think besides all the other things that was being done to them, that was the one way they installed fear into them. Yeah. That's what happened.
This is like, this is a thriller to us. And that's why it's like, when people...
Longest in history.
When people will say things like, no, you're just American. No, you're just Jamaican. No, you're just this. And tell us to forget about things that our loved ones went through. Of course, there was somebody who survived for us to be here. But what if that was well, not what if, it was our relatives who went through these things. And it's like, regardless of how long ago, and that's why I always say it missed a lot of our relatives by some years. You know, this is it's hard to get through.
Okay.
The descendants of the enslaved Africans are huge contributors to Curaçao's current culture. Traces of West African dialect can actually be found in the country's native language, Papiamento.
Because the Papiamento language is started as a lingua franca, African Portuguese, and so it went to the colony, and here it got like 30% of the Dutch in it, and later on the Latin American influence, with the core of the language is African Portuguese.
Despite the richness of the African ancestry on the island, it is oftentimes denied or rejected.
Even having all these different aspects of Africanism in our culture and history, still there are many people ignorant about it. They do it as part of the Curaçao tradition without knowing the root of it. And it has to do with the way, the colonized way that we have, that we learn about ourselves and our identity. They are still ashamed of that truth, denying or just doing as if it is not there, your African root, not wanting to know anything about slavery and the slavery past, total denial on that aspect.
The hatred and denial of blackness crosses country lines and extends throughout the entire world. To reverse this curse of white supremacy, people of the African diaspora must seek out knowledge of themselves and their great past.
Internationally, it is very important that we show our strength. How can we show it? For instance, through conferences, through using the media more effectively about telling who we are. Very important in this aspect are the documentaries that we create and the movies that we make. We have to do it ourselves. We have to create the picture, the image of who we are. And very importantly, that globally we have to buy from our own people. If we can do that agenda, then the sky is the limit.
Reporting for allblackeverythingblog.wordpress.com, I am Dominique Spooner.
Wow. Her words were powerful. Out of the mouth of the historian.
There you have it.
Yes.
And at the same time, she said what she said, but I'd like to add to it, you just got to remain confident. I feel like confidence is key. Mm-hmm. Being brave is key. And whatever it is you're doing in between them times, just do it consistent. You feel me? Because you're going to have times, you know what I'm saying? You can always use this advice in relationships, business, doing whatever it is you're doing. Just be confident and be brave and be consistent, because doing that, you're going to break the barriers, and then you're going to understand yourself at the same time. People around you may not. Some people may. But the focus is you, and you're going to know who's supposed to be with you around the same time.
Right, definitely. I feel like in a perfect world, you know, we could just say I'm not going to go there. Don't let nobody try to erase your heritage. I'm going to say that. Okay? Alright, guys. We hope you guys enjoyed this video with us. Like this video, subscribe, turn on the post notification bell. We have enabled our super thanks if you like support the channel that way, as well as our join feature to become a VIP member of the channel. Send in your reaction request through our description box below. We'll see you soon.
Peace.